Enhanced Matric Support Program.
The aim is to offer young people who have failed to meet the requirements of the National Senior Certificate a second chance to write again.
Get learning and revision material on the DBE website, Facebook, or contact a district office near you. Log on to education.gov.za or find us on Facebook or Twitter. Brought to you by the Department of Basic Education.
Welcome back to our special broadcast, which is taking place in Johannesburg at the SABC studio. And this is where we're taking a look at the 2017 matric results, National Senior Certificate, and the number of the day is 75.1%. And that represents the number of students that managed to pass their matric yesterday, as announced by the Minister of Basic Education-Angie Motshekga last night, of course, on this very channel. And what you've just seen now actually is one of the issues that we'll be talking about shortly, and that's the second chance. And people have heard about progress learners, and there's been some interesting developments and statistics that have come through as a result of these results, and we'll unpack that and much, much more. But let's meet that panel once again to make sense of this number of the day, 75.1%. And don't forget, you at home can be part of this conversation if you have questions that you'd like to raise or thoughts that you'd like to share. Hashtag Matric Results 2017 is the #1 trend at the moment anyway. So if you forget, just look for your trending topics, and there it is. But let's say once again a very good morning to the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Enver Surty, Deputy Minister, thank you for joining us. Mugwena Maluleke, General Secretary of SADTU, thank you for joining us. And Dr. Mabogoane, Outcome Facilitator, Educational Skills at the Department of Monitoring, Evaluation and generally control, making sure that they're doing what they're doing, right? And that's in the presidency. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so a question for all of you, and I'll start with you, Minister. You know, sometimes we get caught up in the number, 75.1, but it doesn't tell the whole story. What would you say is the big story for you as we look at this number?
I think for me the big story, numbers is important, but as the sector, one area that we've not been paying good attention or doing well was the area of learners with special needs. And I think we're beginning to see more learners with special needs performing very well, more of them registering for the matric, but also provinces coming to terms with the fact that our children don't cope similarly in the classroom. Therefore, there will be learners that need special support, like the learners that are progressing. It takes lots of time and energy to really support them, but there is now focused, dedicated support to learners who are struggling.
Deputy Minister, what do you take away from what the class of 2017 have done?
Well, the exciting element is really the improved performance of the rural provinces. These schools function under very difficult circumstances, and certainly I was just telling the General Secretary that most of the educators are deployed there, so they've done a wonderful job insofar as that is concerned. So if you just look at, for example, KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng combined represent about 42% of the bachelor's passes that the country produces, which means that if a rural province such as KwaZulu-Natal or the Eastern Cape performs well, it certainly has a huge impact nationally. So that would be an important takeaway. And the second certainly would be in terms of mathematics science, the improved results out there, that the raw marks were accepted, and Umalusi has indicated that the cognitive demand was higher. This notwithstanding, there has been an improvement in mathematics and science, and that augurs well for the future.
All right, so lots of good news stories to tell. We'll explore the other side of that equation. But Mr. Maluleke, you must be pleased. KZN, Eastern Cape, these were provinces that weren't performing, they pretty much brought up the average, the both of them, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm happy that you used the word pleased, not happy. I had a problem yesterday when I was asked if I'm happy. It's a relative word. But really is that the 3 provinces have performed very well, given the socio-economic situation, but also the structural problems that we have always been talking about, that for them to be able to have this steady improvement, I think they need to be congratulated for that. They're rural provinces, and we know the challenges that they are faced with. And the other area that we are taking as a lesson, and we are happy about it, is the commitment by the teachers when we were visiting them, when they were doing preparation for matric. When principals and teachers would every Friday go and sleep at the school and leave the school on a Sunday, leaving their families and their children. It is something that normally we don't say about these things, and then we think that it is important that we mention it because sometimes it's collective when things are good, and then it's the teachers when things are bad. And therefore we think it's important that we congratulate ourselves. And improvement, as he says, mathematics and science. But obviously one area that we think needs to be looked at is the issue of the decline in terms of the pass percentages in African languages. Is an area that we think we need to explore seriously. I come from Limpopo, and seeing Chivenda, Xitsonga, Sepedi are really not doing very well. It's not something that I'm pleased.
But very pleasing to see some of the top students actually came from Limpopo this year, which was great to see. Performance monitoring and evaluation. So you're the custodian of the National Development Plan, and you see a bigger and longer term picture. From what you saw yesterday, is the department, is the country on track in terms of education and skills?
Yeah, it's planning, it's no longer performance, it's planning, monitoring and evaluation. I think in the long term we are starting to see the green shoots, and this is part of the maintenance of the story of the green shoots that are emerging in the country. We are seeing performance increasing, and the biggest story is what is happening with your quintile 1 to 3 story, that we are seeing those schools starting to perform. And that means all the interventions that we've been having as a country are starting to pay the dividend that we want to see in the country. So in the long term, we believe that if we continue doing the right things, we will eventually see what the goals that we want to see. And we are also reaping the stability that we've also been having. Curriculum has been consistent. We have not been seeing lots of changes, and therefore, as a result, we are starting to see the performance of the system going forward. We believe we will start seeing even much more performance as more people start putting their shoulder on the wheel. I mean, the parents, we should not also forget them, besides the teachers, that they see this as an important investment in the country if we want to see the goals of the 2030 NDP goals.
All right, thank you very much indeed, all of you, for your initial thoughts. We're going to start unpacking all of this a bit more, but we take a quick break, and don't forget, hashtag Matric Results 2017, that's where you can post your questions and we'll pose them to our panel here. We've also got an audience here, and some of the students that performed so well are here as well. Perhaps we'll get a word from them as well. Stay with us for this special broadcast, Matric Results 2017. This is what happened, and this is what's happening and unfolding today, and we have a special broadcast covering it right across the country. Stay with us for that.